The vast expanse of space had always called to humanity, a siren song of endless possibility. But on that fateful day in 2157, as the United Earth ship Horizon breached the heliopause, Captain Elena Rodriguez realized that the universe had been calling back all along. Unidentified object detected, Captain Lieutenant Commander Akira Tanaka reported, his fingers dancing across the holographic display. It's massive. Elena leaned forward in her chair, her heart racing. On screen, Tanaka. The main view screen flickered to life, revealing a sight that would forever change the course of human history. A colossal vessel, easily 10 times the size of the Horizon, hung in the void before them. Its hull shimmered with an iridescent blue-green hue, organic curves blending seamlessly with sharp geometric patterns. "My God," whispered Dr. Samantha Chen, the ship's xenobiologist. "It's beautiful." Elena nodded, all momentarily overriding her training. She shook herself out of it quickly. "Tanaka, any signs of hostile intent?" "Negative, Captain. Their weapons systems, if they have any, appear to be dormant." "Very well. Open a channel, all frequencies. Let's say hello." As Tanaka worked to establish communication, Elena couldn't help but feel the weight of history on her shoulders. Humanity's first contact with an alien species, and it fell to her to make that crucial first impression. The view screen flickered again, this time revealing a being unlike anything Elena had ever seen. Vaguely humanoid in shape, the alien had 4 arms, mottled blue-green skin that seemed to ripple like water, and large, multifaceted eyes that reminded Elena of a dragonfly's. "Greetings," Elena said, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "I am Captain Elena Rodriguez of the United Earth ship Horizon. We come in peace and friendship." The alien tilted its head, a gesture eerily similar to a human's. When it spoke, its voice was a melodic trill that seemed to bypass their ears and resonate directly in their minds. "We are the Tsar Kali," the alien said, the words somehow translated into perfect English. "I am Emissary Jorax. We have long awaited this meeting, children of Earth." Elena blinked in surprise. You know of us." Jorax's skin rippled in what Elena would later learn was a sign of amusement. "We have observed your world for many of your centuries. Your species' rapid advancement has been most interesting." Over the next few weeks, the crew of the Horizon engaged in a whirlwind of cultural and scientific exchanges with the Tsar Kali. The aliens proved to be masters of biotechnology, their ship itself a living, semi-sentient organism. In return, humans shared their expertise in physics and artificial intelligence. But as the initial excitement of first contact began to wane, subtle tensions started to emerge. "Captain, I'm concerned," Dr. Chen said during a private meeting in Elena's quarters. "The Tsar Kali seem evasive when I ask about certain aspects of their biology, and some of the technology they've shown us doesn't quite add up." Elena frowned. "What do you mean?" "Their biotech is incredible, yes, but it's almost too perfect. Like they're showing us a carefully curated version of their capabilities." Before Elena could respond, the ship's AIA chimed in. "Captain, I detected an anomaly in the Tsar Kali data transmissions. There appears to be a hidden data stream embedded within the standard communications." Elena's frown deepened. "Can you decrypt it?" "Negative, Captain. The encryption is unlike anything in my databases." As the days passed, more discrepancies came to light. The Tsar Kali's account of their own history seemed to change subtly with each telling. Their questions about Earth's defenses and resources grew more pointed, thinly veiled beneath the veneer of scientific curiosity. Then came the incident that shattered the fragile peace. "Captain," Tanaka's voice crackled over the comm. "We've lost contact with the Neptune outpost. Last transmission reported an unidentified ship approaching." Elena's blood ran cold. "The Tsar Kali?" "Unknown, but it matches their energy signature." Elena raced to the bridge, her mind whirling. Had they been deceived all along? Was this first contact about to turn into humanity's first interstellar war? As she burst onto the bridge, the view screen showed a chilling sight. The Tsar Kali ship was powering up its systems, a pulsing energy building at its fore. "Hail them," Elena barked. Jorax's face appeared on the screen, its usual placid expression replaced by one of stern resolve. "Captain Rodriguez, we had hoped it wouldn't come to this." "What have you done?" Elena demanded. "Why attack Neptune?" "Attack?" Jorax seemed genuinely confused. "We have not attacked anyone. We merely reclaimed what was ours." "What are you talking about?" Jorax's skin rippled in complex patterns. "The device your people found buried beneath the ice of Neptune. Did you think it was mere chance that led you to it? That artifact is Tsar Kali in origin, placed there eons ago to guide your species' development." Elena's mind reeled. The Neptune discovery, as it had been dubbed, was a mysterious device found 5 years ago that had revolutionized human understanding of quantum mechanics. It had been the key to unlocking faster-than-light travel. You've been manipulating us." Elena's voice was a whisper. "Guiding," Jorax corrected. "Nurturing. But now you have advanced far more quickly than anticipated. The galaxy is a dangerous place, Captain. We sought to prepare you, but now we fear we may have created a threat." The energy building at the fore of the Tsar Kali ship reached a crescendo. Elena tensed, expecting an attack, but instead, a beam of pure data streamed towards the horizon. "We offer you a choice," Jorax said. "This data contains the truth about us, about your place in the galaxy, about the threats that lie in wait. You may accept this knowledge and join us as allies, or, Elena prompted, her hand hovering over the weapon's control. "Or we can part ways now, and pray that when next we meet, it is not as enemies." The weight of the galaxy seemed to press down on Elena's shoulders. The choice before her would shape the future of humanity. Alliance with a species that had manipulated them, or a leap into the unknown, facing the cosmos alone but free. As alarms blared and her crew looked to her for direction, Captain Elena Rodriguez took a deep breath and prepared to make the most important decision in human history. Captain Elena Rodriguez stared at the holographic display, her decision still weighing heavily on her mind. It had been 6 months since that fateful encounter with the Tsar Kali, and humanity's trajectory had irrevocably changed. "Accept the data," she had told Jorax that day. "But know this, we'll forge our own path, allies or not." Now, as the United Earth ship Horizon glided through the star-studded expanse of the Orion Arm, Elena couldn't help but wonder if she'd made the right choice. "Captain," Aoia's smooth voice interrupted her thoughts. "We're approaching the coordinates for the Galactic Conclave." Elena nodded, straightening her uniform. "Thank you, AOIA. Tanaka, status report." Lieutenant Commander Akira Tanaka, now her XO, pulled up a series of holograms. "All systems nominal, Captain. Our new quantum shields are holding steady, and the antimatter drive is powering like a kitten." Dr. Samantha Chen, who had become an integral part of the command team, chimed in. "The biological upgrades to the life support systems are functioning perfectly. I still can't believe how much we've advanced in just 6 months." Elena allowed herself a small smile. The data from the Tsar Kali had indeed been a treasure trove of scientific and technological knowledge. But it had come at a price. Earth was now thrust onto a galactic stage it barely understood, competing for resources and allies with species that had been traversing the stars for millennia. The Horizon dropped out of FTL, and Elena's breath caught in her throat. Before them hung a massive space station, its architecture a blend of dozens of alien designs. Hundreds of ships, each more bizarre than the last, swarmed around it like bees around a hive. "Welcome to Nexus Station," a melodic voice chimed over the comms. "United Earth Ship Horizon, you are cleared for docking in Bay 17. As they maneuvered towards their assigned bay, Elena couldn't shake the feeling of being a small fish in a very, very large pond. The Galactic Conclave was unlike anything Elena had ever experienced. Representatives from over 50 spacefaring species filled the grand chamber, their forms ranging from the vaguely humanoid to the utterly alien. The Zarkali delegation sat opposite the humans, their skin rippling with barely concealed tension. "Order," boomed a voice that seemed to bypass ears entirely and resonate directly in the mind. The chamber fell silent as a being of pure energy floated to the center of the room. "I, Arbiter San of the Eternal Flame, call this session of the Galactic Conclave to order." What followed was a dizzying array of debates, trade negotiations, and thinly veiled threats. The humans, led by Ambassador Marcus Wong, fought tooth and nail for mining rights in uninhabited systems, technology exchange agreements, and mutual defense pacts. But it was clear that many of the established powers viewed humanity with a mix of curiosity and wariness. The Zarkali, in particular, seemed intent on limiting human expansion. "The humans are a young species," Jorax argued during one heated debate. "They lack the wisdom to wield the power they so eagerly seek." Ambassador Wang's reply was sharp. "And yet, in mere months, we've achieved what took many of you centuries. Perhaps it's not wisdom we lack, but the burden of outdated traditions." As the debates raged on, Elena found herself in a quiet corner of the station's observation deck, staring out at the star-filled void. A soft shuffling sound alerted her to another's presence. "Magnificent, isn't it?" came a gravelly voice. Elena turned to see a being that looked like a cross between a turtle and a tree, its bark-like skin etched with glowing patterns. "Ambassador Korth of the Arboreal Collective," the being introduced itself. "You seem troubled, Captain Rodriguez." Elena sighed, just overwhelmed. "There's so much out here, so much we didn't know." Korth's branches rustled in what Elena assumed was laughter. "Oh, child, none of us truly know the vastness of what's out there. That's why we must stand together." Before Elena could respond, alarms blared throughout the station. She rushed back to the conclave chamber, where chaos reigned. Arbiter San's energy form pulsed with urgency. "We've received a distress call from the Pelax system. It's gone dark." Murmurs of shock rippled through the chamber. The Pelax were an advanced species, their home system protected by defenses that rivaled those of the Zarkali. "What could have caused this?" someone asked. A hologram flickered to life in the center of the chamber, showing the last transmission from Pelax Prime. The image was grainy, filled with static, but what it revealed sent chills down Elena's spine. A massive ship, easily dwarfing even the largest Zarkali vessel, loomed over the Pelax homeworld. Its design was like nothing Elena had ever seen, all harsh angles and pulsing, sickly green energy. As they watched, a beam of that same energy lanced out from the ship, and the feed went dead. The chamber erupted into pandemonium. Accusations flew, alliances shifted, and fear permeated the air. Elena locked eyes with Jorax across the room, and for a moment she saw something she never expected to see in those alien eyes: fear. Ambassador Wang's voice cut through the chaos. "Earth will send aid to Pelax. Who will join us?" The silence that followed was deafening. Then slowly, tentatively, other species began to step forward. The Arboreal Collective, the Silicon Mines, even a faction of the Zarkali. As plans were hastily made and fleets assembled, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. The galaxy had seemed so vast, so full of wonders and possibilities. Now, as she prepared to lead the Horizon into what could be the first battle of an interstellar war, it felt suffocatingly small. Back aboard the Horizon, as they prepared to jump to the Pelax system, Dr. Chen approached Elena with a troubled expression. "Captain, I've been analyzing the data from that transmission," she said, her voice low. "There's something odd about that ship." Elena raised an eyebrow. "Odd how?" Chen pulled up a holographic display, its energy signature. Well, it's not entirely alien. There are patterns here that resemble some of the technology we developed from the Zarkali data, but twisted, corrupted somehow." A chill ran down Elena's spine. "Are you saying Chen nodded grimly. Whatever that thing is, Captain, I think it's connected to us. To Earth. To the choices we've made. As the Horizon's engines spooled up for the jump, Elena stared out at the assembled fleet. Ships of all shapes and sizes, from dozens of species, united against a common threat. It should have been an inspiring sight. Instead, all Elena could think about was the weight of unintended consequences, and the dawning realization that humanity's actions might have set in motion events that could reshape the galaxy itself. The ship shuddered as it entered FTL. They were committed now, hurtling towards a conflict they barely understood. But as Elena looked around at her crew, human and alien alike, she felt a glimmer of hope. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. The galaxy might be vast and full of terrors, but so too was it filled with allies, with courage, and with the indomitable spirit that had driven humanity to the stars in the first place. As the swirling colors of FTL travel engulfed the viewscreen, Elena Rodriguez squared her shoulders and prepared to meet their destiny. The Horizon dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Pelax system, and Captain Elena Rodriguez felt her heart sink. Where once a vibrant civilization had thrived across 12 planets and hundreds of orbital habitats, now there was only silence and debris. "My God," whispered Tanaka from his station. "It's all gone." Elena steeled herself, pushing down the horror threatening to overwhelm her. "Status report. Any signs of survivors? Or the enemy?" Dr. Chen's voice was tight as she reported. "No life signs detected on any of the planets or remaining structures, Captain. But there's something else." She manipulated her holographic display, zooming in on a massive object drifting near the system's outermost gas giant. Elena's eyes widened as she recognized the ship from the distress call. Up close, it was even more terrifying. A grotesque fusion of organic and mechanical parts, pulsing with that sickly green energy. "It appears to be dormant," Aoria chimed in. "Power levels are minimal." Before Elena could respond, space rippled around them as the rest of the Allied fleet arrived. Ships of all shapes and sizes filled the viewscreen, from the crystalline vessels of the silicon mines to the living ships of the Zarkali. "Open a channel to the fleet," Elena commanded. As the comm line crackled to life, she took a deep breath. "This is Captain Rodriguez of the UAS Horizon. As you can see, we're too late to save the Pelax, but we have a chance to stop this from happening again. I'm sending coordinates for a rendezvous point. We need to pool our knowledge and resources if we're going to have any chance against this threat." As the fleet maneuvered into position, Elena couldn't help but marvel at the unlikely alliance that had formed. Species that had been at each other's throats just days ago were now working side by side in the face of a common enemy. The command crew of the Horizon found themselves in a hastily assembled war room aboard a neutral station that had been towed into the system. Representatives from a dozen species huddled around a massive holographic display of the enemy ship. Jorax, the Zarkali emissary, was the first to speak. "We've analyzed the energy signatures. There's no doubt. This abomination is utilizing corrupted versions of technologies from multiple species, including our own." Ambassador Wong frowned. "Are you saying this is some kind of composite being? A fusion of different alien tech?" "Not just alien," Dr. Chen cut in, her face grim. "There are elements here that are undeniably of human origin. Specifically, they seem to be twisted versions of the quantum shielding we developed from the Zarkali data." A ripple of unease passed through the assembled aliens. Elena could see accusations forming in their eyes, and she knew she had to act fast. "This isn't about blame," she said, her voice firm. "Whatever this thing is, it's a threat to all of us. We need to focus on stopping it." Korth of the Arboreal Collective rustled his branches in agreement. "The human is right. Our bickering will only weaken us. We must unite or perish." Over the next several hours, a plan began to take shape. The silicon mines would attempt to hack into the creature's systems, while the Zarkali and humans would work together to develop a weapon capable of penetrating its defenses. The other species would provide support and distractions as needed. As the meeting broke up, Elena found herself face to face with Jorax. The Zarkali's skin rippled with complex emotions. "Captain Rodriguez," Jorax said, its voice a soft trill. I owe you an apology. We thought we were protecting the galaxy by controlling the spread of advanced technology. But in our arrogance, we may have inadvertently created this monster." Elena studied the alien for a long moment. "We all played a part in this, Jorax. The important thing now is that we're working together to fix it." As they parted ways, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that this alliance, born of desperation, might be the key to not just defeating this threat, but reshaping galactic society as a whole. The next few days were a whirlwind of activity. The Horizons labs were running around the clock, with human and Zarkali scientists working side by side to unlock the secrets of the enemy's defenses. Dr. Chen had practically moved into the lab, emerging only for brief naps and coffee runs. On the fourth day, she burst onto the bridge, her eyes wild with excitement. "We've done it. We found a way to penetrate their shields." Elena leaned forward, hope blossoming in her chest. "Explain." Chen pulled up a holographic model. "It's a quantum resonance torpedo. By matching the frequency of their shields and then inducing a controlled collapse, we can create a window of vulnerability." "That's our chance to strike," Tanaka said, studying the model. "But we'll only have a few seconds before their systems adapt." Elena nodded, her mind racing. "Then we'll need to coordinate the entire fleet to hit them with everything we've got in that window." As they fine-tuned the plan, alerts blared across the system. The enemy ship was powering up, preparing to jump to its next target. "All ships, battle stations," Elena commanded, her voice echoing across the fleet-wide channel. "This is our only chance. Remember, we're not just fighting for our individual species anymore. We're fighting for the future of the entire galaxy." The next hours were a blur of chaos and heroism. Ships darted and weaved through space, drawing the enemy's fire while the Horizon and its escorts maneuvered into position. The quantum resonance torpedo streaked across space, a pinprick of hope against the vast darkness. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, with a flash of light that seemed to bend reality itself, a hole appeared in the enemy's shields. "Now," Elena shouted, "all ships, concentrate fire." A barrage of weapons fire unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen poured through the gap. Lasers, plasma bolts, antimatter warheads, and stranger weapons besides slammed into the massive ship. For a moment, it seemed like even this wasn't enough. The enemy vessel shuddered but remained intact, its sickly green energy pulsing angrily. Then, with a sound that seemed to shake the very fabric of space-time, it began to break apart. Cheers erupted across the fleet as the monstrous ship collapsed in on itself, torn apart by the combined might of a united galaxy. But Elena's relief was short-lived. "Captain," Tanaka called out, his voice urgent. "We're detecting a massive energy buildup in the enemy wreckage. It's going tow." His words were cut off as a blinding flash of light engulfed the fleet. Elena felt a moment of weightlessness, then nothing. When she came to, the view screen showed a scene of devastation. Ships from every species floated dead in space, their systems fried by whatever energy pulse the enemy had released in its death throes. "Status report," Elena croaked, pulling herself back into her chair. "Main power is offline," HFY reported. "We're operating on emergency backups. Casualties reported on all decks, but we're alive, Captain." As the hours passed and systems slowly came back online, the true scope of their victory and its cost became clear. They had defeated the threat, but at a terrible price. Nearly half the fleet had been destroyed or disabled in the final blast. Yet, as Elena looked out at the battered but unbowed remnants of their unlikely alliance, she felt a glimmer of hope. In the face of annihilation, they had come together. Old enmities had been set aside, and new bonds forged in the crucible of battle. A transmission crackled through the damaged comms. It was Arbiter San, his energy form flickering weakly. To all ships, you have done the impossible. You have saved not just your own species, but countless others who would have fallen to this threat. The Galactic Conclave owes you a debt that can never be repaid. As the surviving ships limped back towards the nearest habitable system for repairs, Elena couldn't help but wonder what the future held. They had faced down an unimaginable threat and emerged victorious, but at what cost? And what other dangers lurked in the vast, uncharted expanses of the galaxy? One thing was certain: humanity, and indeed all the species of the galaxy, would never be the same again. The stars had echoed with their defiance, and the universe itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what this new, united force would do next. As the Horizon's engines sputtered to life, carrying them towards an uncertain but hopeful future, Elena Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. Whatever lay ahead, they would face it together. The great test. 6 months had passed since the battle that had nearly torn the galaxy apart. The UEAS Horizon, now emblazoned with battle scars and patchwork repairs from a dozen different species, glided into orbit around Earth. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood at the viewport, watching her home planet grow larger, a swirl of blue, green, and white against the velvet backdrop of space. "It looks so peaceful," Jorax said, its voice a soft trill beside her. The Zarkali ambassador had become a permanent fixture aboard the Horizon, a living symbol of the new era of cooperation. Elena nodded, a wry smile on her face. "Hard to believe everything that's happened out there, isn't it?" Before Jorax could respond, Tanaka's voice came over the comms. "Captain, we're receiving a priority transmission from Nexus Station. It's Arbiter San." Elena straightened her uniform. "Put it through to my ready room." The flickering form of Arbiter San materialized as Elena entered. Even through the hologram, she could sense the being's agitation. "Captain Rodriguez," San's voice resonated, "we have a situation. Our long-range sensors have detected something approaching the galaxy at incredible speed. It will reach the outer rim in less than a week." Elena felt her blood run cold. Another threat. Petan's energy form pulsed uncertainly. Unknown, but given recent events, the Conclave is taking no chances. "We're assembling a task force to investigate, and if necessary, defend against this new entity. The Horizon is requested to lead the mission." As the hologram faded, Elena sank into her chair, her mind racing. They had barely recovered from the last conflict, and now this. The next few days were a blur of preparation. The Horizon's crew worked tirelessly to integrate new technologies from their alien allies. Zarkali biotech meshed with human AA, arboreal collective atmospheric scrubbers enhancing life support, and silicon mind processors boosting their sensor capabilities. As they prepared to depart, Elena addressed her crew, a mix of humans and aliens from a dozen different species. "I won't lie to you," she said, her voice firm. "We don't know what we're flying into. But I do know this: whatever's out there, it's going to face the most diverse, adaptable, and determined crew in the galaxy. We've overcome impossible odds before. We'll do it again." A cheer went up, a cacophony of human voices mingling with alien trills, hoots, and resonances. As Elena looked out at her crew, she felt a surge of pride. This, she realized, was what humanity had been striving for all along, not just to reach the stars, but to find their place among them. The journey to the galactic rim was tense. Every sensor was trained outward, searching for any sign of the approaching entity. It was Dr. Chen who first noticed something odd. "Captain," she called out, her voice tight with excitement and fear. "I'm detecting fluctuations in the fabric of space-time itself. Whatever this thing is, it's not just traveling through space, it's warping reality around it." Before Elena could respond, the view screen lit up with a sight that defied comprehension. A massive something burst into normal space. It was like looking at a hole in reality itself, a swirling vortex of colors and shapes that hurt the mind to perceive. By the eternal flame, Jorax whispered, its skin rippling in patterns Elena had never seen before. As they watched, the entity began to change, shifting and morphing until it resembled a mirror image of their fleet. "It's mimicking us," Tanaka said, his voice filled with awe and horror. Suddenly, every display on the bridge erupted with cascading symbols and equations. Aoria's voice, usually so calm, was tinged with what could only be described as excitement. "Captain, I'm receiving a transmission. I think. It's not like any language I've ever encountered. It's pure mathematics." Elena straightened in her chair. "Can you translate it?" There was a pause, longer than Elena had ever known the AI to take. "I believe so. It appears to be a test." "A test?" Elena echoed, incredulous. "Yes, HFY confirmed. The entity is presenting us with a series of increasingly complex mathematical and logical problems. It seems to be evaluating us." What followed was the most grueling intellectual challenge any of them had ever faced. Hour after hour, the entity posed problems that pushed the boundaries of known science and mathematics. The entire fleet worked in concert, each species contributing their unique perspectives and knowledge. Humans provided intuitive leaps of logic, Zartkali offered insights from their biotech, silicon mines crunched impossibly large datasets, and the Arboreal Collective provided paradigm-shifting perspectives on space-time itself. As they worked, Elena couldn't help but feel a sense of awe. This, she realized, was why humanity had always looked to the stars, not just for resources or living space, but for challenges that would push them to their very limits and beyond. Just when it seemed they could go no further, that the problems had become too abstract, too removed from anything they could comprehend, something clicked. "That's it," Dr. Chen exclaimed, her eyes wide with realization. "It's not about solving each problem individually. They're all interconnected, part of a larger whole." With this new understanding, the fleet redoubled its efforts. Species that had once been bitter enemies now worked in perfect harmony, their minds linked through a network of AIs and organic interfaces. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, it was over. The swirling vortex of the entity stabilized, taking on a form that was somehow both familiar and utterly alien. A new transmission came through, this time in a language they could all understand. "You have passed the test," a voice that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere said. "You have proven yourselves worthy." "Worthy of what?" Elena asked, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "Of joining us," the voice replied. "We are the guardians, shepherds of young species across the cosmos. For eons, we have watched and waited, seeking those with the potential to transcend their physical forms and join us in safeguarding the universe." Elena felt the weight of history on her shoulders as she realized the magnitude of what was being offered. "And if we refuse?" There was a pause, as if the entity was considering something it had never encountered before. "Then you would be the first, but the choice is yours. We offer knowledge beyond imagining, power to shape reality itself, but we cannot force ascension upon you." Elena looked around at her crew, at the representatives of a dozen different species all linked in common purpose. She thought of the battles they had fought, the challenges they had overcome, and the bonds they had forged. "We appreciate your offer," she said, her voice firm, "but I think we're not ready to transcend just yet. There's still so much for us to learn, so much growing for us to do. Together." The entity was silent for a long moment. When it spoke again, there was something new in its voice, respect, perhaps even admiration. "Your choices, unexpected, but perhaps in your own way, you have passed an even greater test. Go forth, children of the stars. We will be watching your progress with great interest." As the entity faded from view, returning to whatever higher plane of existence it called home, Elena felt a mix of emotions wash over her: relief, pride, and an overwhelming sense of possibility. They had faced the ultimate challenge and emerged not by transcending their physical forms, but by embracing them. By choosing to remain in the physical universe, to continue learning and growing together, they had proven that there was strength in diversity, in the messy, complicated business of coexistence. As the horizon turned back towards the heart of the galaxy, Elena knew that their greatest adventures were still to come. The stars echoed with the promise of a future limited only by their imagination and their willingness to work together. 5 years had passed since humanity and its allies had faced the Guardians, choosing to forge their own path among the stars rather than ascending to a higher plane of existence. The galaxy had changed in ways few could have imagined. Captain Elena Rodriguez, now Admiral Rodriguez, stood on the observation deck of Harmony Station, a massive structure at the heart of what had once been disputed space between a dozen different species. Now, it served as the capital of the newly formed Galactic Coalition. "Quite a view, isn't it?" A familiar voice trilled beside her. Elena turned to see Jorax, its skin rippling with patterns she had learned to recognize as contentment. "It never gets old," Elena agreed, looking out at the swirling nebula that served as a backdrop to the station. Ships of all shapes and sizes darted to and fro, a testament to the unprecedented era of cooperation and exchange. "The Council is assembling," Jorax said. "It's time." Elena nodded, straightening her uniform. As they walked towards the council chambers, she marveled at how far they'd come. The station itself was a marvel of collaborative engineering, human ingenuity, Zarkali biotech, silicon-mined processing cores, and a dozen other technologies working in perfect harmony. The council chamber was a cathedral to diversity. Representatives from over 100 species sat in tiered rows, their forms as varied as the stars themselves. At the center stood Arbiter San, his energy form pulsing gently. "This council is now in session." San's voice resonated through the chamber. "Admiral Rodriguez, your report, please." Elena stepped forward, activating a holographic display that filled the center of the room. "Thank you, Arbiter. As you can see, the rim expansion project is proceeding ahead of schedule. We've successfully established outposts in 17 new systems, with another dozen in the planning stages." Murmurs of approval rippled through the assembly. The rim expansion project had been born out of the realization that their encounter with the Guardians had been just the beginning. There were wonders and potential threats lurking in the vast unknown beyond the galaxy's edge. Moreover, Elena continued, the data from these outposts has already yielded significant scientific breakthroughs. Dr. Chen. Dr. Samantha Chen, now the Coalition's chief science officer, stepped forward. "Thank you, Admiral. Our latest findings suggest that the fabric of space-time itself becomes more malleable at the galactic rim. We believe this could be the key to developing new forms of FTL travel, perhaps even stable wormholes." The excitement in the room was palpable. The implications of such technology were staggering. As the council debated the ramifications of these discoveries, Elena couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought them here. The fear and mistrust of first contact, the desperate alliance against a common foe, the humbling encounter with the Guardians. Each challenge had forged stronger bonds between once rival species. But their greatest test was yet to come. Alarms blared, cutting through the discussion. Arbiter San's form flickered with urgency. "We're receiving a priority transmission from Outpost Omega on the rim. Put it through." The holographic display shifted, showing a young Zarkali scientist, her skin rippling with patterns of fear. "Coalition Command, this is Dr. Zalina of Outpost Omega. We've detected a massive anomaly approaching our position. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." The feed cut to an external view, and gasps echoed through the council chamber. A writhing mass of darkness was visible against the star-studded backdrop, seeming to devour light itself. "By the eternal flame," San whispered. "What is that?" Dr. Chen was already at the console, analyzing the data. "It appears to be a region of anti-reality, for lack of a better term. It's not just consuming matter and energy, but the very fabric of space-time itself. The implications hit Elena like a physical blow. This wasn't just a threat to their expansion efforts or even to the galaxy. This was a threat to existence itself. "How long do we have?" she asked, her voice steady despite the fear gripping her heart. Dr. Chen's face was grim. At its current rate of expansion, maybe a year before it reaches the galactic rim. After that, I'm not sure we can stop it. The council erupted into chaos. Accusations flew, old fears and prejudices bubbling to the surface in the face of this existential threat. For a moment, it seemed as if everything they had built might crumble. Enough. Elena's voice cut through the din. All eyes turned to her. This is exactly the kind of challenge the coalition was formed to face. We've overcome impossible odds before. We'll do it again. She turned to Dr. Chen. You said the fabric of space-time is more malleable at the rim. Could we use that? Find a way to, I don't know, seal off this anti-reality. Jen's eyes widened. It's possible, but the energy requirements would be astronomical. We need to harness the power of entire stars. Then that's what we'll do, Elena said firmly. She turned back to the council. I'm proposing Operation Firewall. We'll build a chain of stellar engines along the galactic rim, using their power to create a barrier against this threat. The logistics of such an operation, Jorax began, will be unprecedented, Elena finished. Which is why we'll need every species, every mind working together. This isn't just about saving our individual worlds anymore. This is about saving reality itself. One by one, the council members nodded their agreement. The next months were a whirlwind of activity unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Fleets of ships were retooled into mobile construction platforms. Uninhabited star systems were converted into massive factories and energy collection arrays. Species that had once fought over scraps of territory now worked side by side, pooling their knowledge and resources. The Zarkali's mastery of biotech allowed for the creation of living ships that could withstand the intense energies at the galactic rim. Human AAs, evolved far beyond their original design, coordinated the efforts of trillions across tens of thousands of light years. Through it all, Elena found herself at the heart of the storm, coordinating, encouraging, and sometimes simply holding things together through sheer force of will. As the deadline approached, tension mounted. The barrier was nearly complete, but the anomaly had grown far faster than their worst projections. They would have only one chance to activate the firewall. Elena stood on the bridge of the horizon, now the flagship of a fleet unlike any ever assembled. Ships of every species stretched out as far as the eye could see, each playing its part in the grand design. All sections report ready, Admiral, Tanaka said, his voice tight with anticipation. Elena took a deep breath. Send the signal. Activate the firewall. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, with a flash that outshone entire galaxies, the barrier sprang to life. A wall of pure energy stretched across the galactic rim, meeting the advancing tide of anti-reality head-on. The clash of forces was beyond comprehension. Space itself seemed to warp and twist, stars flickering like candles in a storm. For agonizing hours, it seemed as if all their efforts might be in vain. But slowly, incrementally, the tide began to turn. The anomaly's advance slowed, then stopped, then began to recede. Cheers erupted across the fleet as the realization dawned. They had done it. They had saved not just their galaxy, but reality itself. In the aftermath, as the coalition began the monumental task of rebuilding and adapting to their new circumstances, Elena found herself once again on the observation deck of Harmony Station. So, Jorax said, joining her at the viewport. What now, my friend? Elena smiled, looking out at the shimmering barrier that now encircled their galaxy. It was a reminder of what they had accomplished, but also of how much more there was to explore and discover. Now, she said, her eyes sparkling with the reflection of countless stars. Now we keep going. We learn. We grow. Together. As if in response to her words, a notification chimed softly. A probe they had sent through the barrier months ago, designed to survive in the chaos beyond, had finally sent back its first transmission. Elena and Jorax leaned in, watching in awe as images of unimaginable wonders filled the screen. New forms of matter, physics-defying phenomena, and tantalizing hints of other realities beyond their own. The galaxy had faced its greatest test and emerged stronger than ever. But as Elena watched the images stream in, she knew that their greatest adventures still lay ahead. The stars echoed with the promise of a future limited only by their imagination and their unwavering spirit of cooperation. Humanity had not only found its place among the stars, it had helped forge a new destiny for all sentient life. And somewhere out in the vast unknown, the Guardians watched with pride as their children took their first steps into a larger universe.